Ricky Martin has said that he enjoys sex with women, but doesn't consider himself to be bisexual. I'm Jennifer Senesi, you're watching News 24 Live. I'm joined in studio by sex and relationship columnist Dorothy Black. She's going to unpack what this means. Hello.
Hi.
Now, Ricky Martin, as we know, came out as a gay man
in 2010.
In 2010. And now he's saying that he actually does enjoy sex with women, but he's not bisexual.
Right.
So the question here, I think, is that a lot of people think if you like sex with men, if you like sex with women, you are bisexual. So what does he mean?
Okay, so according to the old sort of Kinsey scale, which kind of put us on a linear pattern with heterosexual on one side and homosexual on the other side and bisexual in the middle, only looked at who you wanted to have sex with, like which genitals turned you on. Now, I mean, it's almost 100 years later. I think that was in 1940 or something. Okay, a little way off, but we've moved on from that a bit, and where our identification is now not just about who we want to have sex with, but it's how we personally identify in our own bodies, in our sexuality, which relationships we want to enter, which people we want to enter into those relationships with. So it's become a lot more relational. It's become a lot more, it's paying respect to the emotional connection, I think, and to the intellectual connection, and to how you identify personally. And so when we look at labels, I think what needs to happen is we need to start detaching it a little bit about, from just which genitals you like to shag. And so I totally get it. He identifies as gay, he considers himself a gay man, and sometimes he likes to have sex with women. And so what? Does it make him any less gay? No, not if he considers himself gay. And this is in line again with that sex and gender activist Delian van Dijk, who I've spoken about before. Who you like to have sex with, which body parts turn you on, that forms part of a sex play arena. It's got nothing to do necessarily with how you identify.
So I guess my next question is, why do you think it was important for him to say this?
Well, it isn't. It's not important for anybody to know who you like to have sex with and how you label yourself. It's just, the paparazzi, everybody wants to know. They want to know the ins and the outs. So why he chose to share their information is a personal matter. And what it means for us, though, is that it does, what I do like about these things is that it does open up the conversation for, like, well, what does that mean? If a star comes out and says, I identify as gay, but I still like having sex with women, it opens up the conversation for how we look at labels and how we self-identify, and how we look at other people when they identify as gay and like having, opposite sex, or whether you identify as hetero and like having same-sex sex.
Now, how important is it to figure out what label you fall under?
Yeah, I think it's an incredibly privileged position to be in a space where you don't need to have labels at all. It means that you've kind of gotten past what it means. You've got a great deal of self-awareness, and you're in a context where it doesn't matter, and that's great.
It's hard to find a group of people who also understand.
Right. Yeah. I think for the rest of us and for the rest of the world, unfortunately, labels still have a place. It means that people who are still trying to find out, trying to figure out what their identity is, means that they have a name that they can attach to it. We're human. We like naming and labeling and figuring stuff out. And it means that we also know which people we can gravitate towards and where we can find some safety if we need it. To me, the problem has never been about labels necessarily. It's that we narrowly define ourselves only by those labels, and then we stick there and think that that's the be-all and end-all. And then secondly, the shaming that happens around labels. That there are people who feel like they need to moralize around whatever the label is. I think that's where the problem comes in. But whether anybody needs to know is really, really irrelevant to anybody but yourself.
Say you're like Ricky Martin and you identify as a gay man, but you enjoy having sex with women. Is that something you need to reveal to your partner?
Well, personally, I would think that would be an important thing. Yeah, whether you're hetero and you like having same-sex relationships, or you're gay and you like having opposite-sex relationships, that all forms part of the conversation, the open conversation that you have with your partner about what you like. It's what we were talking about with those sex menus the other day. Like, what is it that appeals to you? And you know what? You might meet someone and then find in 10 years' time that you start being attracted to people of the same sex or the opposite sex. It doesn't mean that you can't have those conversations then. We need to get out of this idea that everything is this static, once you make a choice, that's it. We move, we evolve, we grow, we change, and in the perfect world, you would keep having those conversations with your partners from the word go, even if you're a little bit curious, to just put it on the table and say, like, this is what kind of interests me, this is what turns me on, this is what I'm interested in exploring. And if the person leaves after that, well, then they weren't for you anyway.
I think it's really easy to say it, but a lot of people get nervous.
Yeah.
And they shouldn't when they're speaking to their partners. But I think.
Well, we don't have a culture of talking.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have a culture. I know it's easy to say, but I promise you, the more you do it, the easier it becomes. The more you can put out on the table what it is you want, the easier it becomes. Because the people who don't want to pick up what you're putting down will leave a lot quicker, and the people who do want to pick up what you're putting down will stay, and you'll know where to find them, and you'll know how to have this. Jen, we have these conversations all the time. The fact is, it'll get easier the more people talk. The more people don't talk, the more difficult it is. It's like a little catch-22, you know?